Hi all, I'm Avanti and I'm just going to go over our Google in China perspective and from our case study. My classmate members are in my group are Michelle, Alex, Sujin, and myself. The background on Google and what we wanted to share about Google as a start was Google's mission is to organize the world's information and to make it universally accessible and useful. So the main issues of this case first were freedom of speech and the centrality of internet freedom in the 21st century. This occurred in 2010 where Google tried to go in to China and uncensor their search engines and just let people know that their information was not what Google found to be as their value in the purest form of service to them. Too much government control is what we saw witness to during this study and this analysis of this case study. Illegal hacking occurred of Chinese government officials on personal private email accounts of social activists is how this got leaked. Censorship and this big main issue of what is censorship? What does it mean to be censored and to not be censored? What does that do to a person culturally? Mentally. The problem currently for China in 2010 is by attempting cyber attacks and security breaches, problems only expand further on these issues. They only get highlighted to be worse. There isn't any retribution to be sought. The Chinese are who they are, and unfortunately, the context that we saw this in is China seeking information on Chinese activist accounts, and the attempts were very unsuccessful. Google is reevaluating doing business because of the way China has gone about this government function. The problem statement that we came across was, what is the security and safety for Google to do business in China? Why even be here? The problem that we're seeing is that it isn't an environment that you have control over. The problem for Google in this situation is disrupts business relationships. Partnerships are at risk. The potential loss in money, employers, shareholders, trust, accountability. The visions and objectives that we had as a group, the principles that we saw that Google exhibited was not only does the principle of providing the service to the purest form, but also providing that if there is something else going on here, maybe people should know about it. That's what we do. We are an information outlet for people to get to know information. The mission here that our group utilized to go ahead and form our analysis, Google's mission since the beginning, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. So Google felt that in this digital universe, not just Americans should have access, but if we are conducting business, we should be doing it to the fullest in China as well, regardless of the policy. The negotiations that took place, Google had already compromised by allowing censorship, but displaying the fact that access had been blocked. That was their negotiative ploy to the Chinese government. Censorship was an issue. Maybe a cultural clash is what we're seeing here. Google stays and tries to inform Chinese people. Maybe they could notice via their emails and vulnerability. Also, government control versus corporate values. What will the global market determine if the world's future about national cultural values, if they conflict with individuals' relationships? And that's what Google wanted to avoid, was being in the middle of information, but sometimes that's what occurs when you are presented with information and then you go and you try to do something with that. This was something in their culture that they knew everybody knows, no one spoke about. If you want to be the person to go ahead and shout out the answer, then you have to take responsibility for what you've done. And that is what the Chinese government is doing. The policies and procedures are contractual. There isn't any gray area. And Google's pursuit on trying to get this gray area pinned down we can see here that all of this, straight from Google, this is from Google China. And with Google in China, anytime you search for something, many times you're going to be pushed all over the board, not straight up to what you're searching for. So a proposed solution that we came up with, and the really particular quote that stood out to us here: there are more than twice as many people on the internet in China as there are residents in the US. The number of Chinese internet users is growing at a rapid rate that far surpasses any other country. So why do business here? What could we solve, or what could we propose as a new solution to a problem that we're seeing on our end? Google should stay in China and be compliant with all government regulations. First, let's talk to the Chinese government, an explanation, and come to an agreement and just say, hey, if other companies are doing this, I can do it too. Number two, meet with Baidu executives, talk to them, see how they're becoming compliant. Number three, change their mission statement or alter it just for Google. Many times in marketing tactics, one has to conform to the environment, not sprout out. Also, they could rewrite the 10 commandments that they live by at Google to conform to the society that they want to conduct business in. If they're not trying to conduct business, then I think that a different type of contractual agreement, a different type of service could then be provided. Educate customers also. And with that education comes sometimes a small disclaimer that says, Dear Google, CN Gmail users, it has come to our attention that the Chinese internet search policies have changed. Now, all of the information on the internet platforms of Google CN are being monitored. At any time, any information can be utilized by the Chinese government and can be used against you. You may continue to use CN usage as you wish. The implementation objectives that we came up with to go ahead and have that plan put in place was through this coming September, seeking regulatory approval and implementing censorship through limited searches approved under material Chinese law. Maybe in another quarter from that time period on in September, let's say January, going ahead and providing a report with information regarding any attempts to search prohibited terms and keywords, just conforming to the compliance areas of search, utilizing the tools that you have in front of you as a Google representative to provide people what they can and will comprehend, want to look at. Also improving the servers so that maybe the log off wait times of the censored material, people trying to access this information, could be reconfigured online so that there isn't such a long wait time, there isn't such kind of an all over being redirected, having to refresh those pages, all of those kind of just simple layman's terms and issues that just everyday people have with, oh, this isn't working. That's what the Chinese military, that's what the Chinese government specifically does. And that's what they're going to continue to do. Even in 2016, 2017, 2018, even in these last 3 years, they have beefed up their security constantly. So therefore, the results that we've concluded is maybe we can close that gap technologically, digitally. Google could re-enter China, but being compliant and understanding that maybe in the long run, this isn't what's best for them. Maybe trying to formulate a pull-out strategy later on down the road, let's say in a year from now, just understanding more of what the market wants instead of just trying to provide something that they may not even have a fish or a larger shark bite onto, essentially. Eventually, China will squeeze out and eventually China will go ahead and squeeze out Google and have just completely Chinese controlled business entities. So there's not going to be a lot to do moving forward if we look towards the near future on what is going on today and in the articles that have been released. China's search engine market share is pretty large. They have several different entities that you can go ahead and look at. Here's Baidu. And with that, just any closing remarks that we do have, we want to go ahead and highlight the fact that if you want to go ahead and conduct business in a social or cultural environment that is there to make a profit, you must understand that without having an internal knowledge of walking basically in the shoes of the people experiencing and going through what your service is providing, you're going to be at a loss. You're not going to do what you designed yourself to do. So therefore, it's incredibly important and strongly advised to go in and to figure out where specifically help is needed, help can be granted, and help can be completed upon so. Thank you so much.